All right, welcome. In this video, I'd like to again talk about pinch collars, and the question that comes up quite often regarding tools, regarding what are the best tools to use based on relationship change, and the reason why I steer clear of certain tools, even though certain tools will appear okay to create a better picture of response, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But what I want to focus in on is the issue of using prong collars. The type of collar that looks like almost like a bear claw. Okay, and a lot of people look at the tool, a pinch collar, and immediately just shy away from it because of how it appears. But I want to move beyond that, just this issue about appearances, because whenever you consider a tool, you have to go deeper than just how it looks. You have to actually ask questions as to, is it the right tool to use based on what your goals are in terms of relationship change? How does it align? How does influence itself? How does it manifest? And how does it set up a picture of change based on interacting, okay, with the dog in specific ways to create change? So when I key up on a word like interact, the system training is based on advocating very specific interactions that create relationship change between dogs and owners, versus approaching it as a learning-based exercise. And I encourage you to watch my videos. I talk extensively about the problem with how people apply learning, okay, and the problem with how these dogs can hold or maintain control in the relationship through its application, which is really the source of and the main problem in the dog training world. But again, this goes into this issue of prong collars, or pinch collars as they're called. Why it is I stay away from them, because the thing to understand is it's about, again, understanding, it's a thing about interactions, okay, specific interactions, that how influence itself intersects the method, okay, during these interactions, is through how it aligns, and how, again, you'll see influence take the form of a nudge, okay, how it's interrupting the dog's state of mind, how it's creating, I call them follower moments of influence that begin to, or your building blocks of change that begin to influence the dog's overall decision-making process. As these interactions are happening, change begins to occur. But the tool, so getting into the issue of the tool itself, okay, is the reason I stay away from prong collars is because the prong collars, based on their design, okay, based on how influence manifests through the design of that device, it does not align properly, okay, which means that, and I hear words such as device awareness, which means that the dog will respond to that device, okay, when the device is on the dog. And this is where you get into this issue, same thing with remote collars. But what happens, because the process is not taking on the right form by way of specific interactions, and even trainers who advocate learning and the dog's ability to hold control through how that intersects the process, is when you use these devices such as the prong collar, okay, what happens is it becomes about that device, okay, and so the dog will respond to that device. So for example, the dog, you'll have a better walk with your dog. Your dog will be at your side, and as you're using the prong collar, but the dog's saying, but I'm still in control of, in terms of relationship. Sure, I'll respond to this device, but that person is not, but the owner's not engaging and interacting in ways that advocate properly in terms of relationship change. So the problem is, when that device comes off the dog, you're going to be dealing with behavioral issues, because nothing has really changed at all. And so what happens is, the tendency is, you always have that device on the dog. Even the remote collar is always on the dog. You never can really get that device. These devices never really fade out, because you still have a relationship problem, okay, and you become device dependent, and the dog, almost like the dog almost knows that. So this is why you want to take it down. Because here's the thing: devices need to be a means to an end, not an end unto themselves. The focus needs to be on actually the owner fading into the picture. And so you need to advocate the process properly, so through specific interactions, which again the system's based on. So looking at the devices, what are the best devices that are going to advocate properly, going to intersect the process properly. You want to take it down to just, I used to use a flat collar and what's called a choke chain, but not to crank and yank the dog. Okay, again, everything's about everything takes a form of a nudge. Okay, it's being proactive. Okay, so there's depth to the system, so you're not waiting for the level of control to manifest at a high level with the dog's state of mind. Okay, it's totally different that way. So there's depth to it, so therefore it's more effective. And so you're keying up on the dog's state of mind differently. So but the choke chain is the go-between. Okay, so and it's for some dogs that are very, very powerful, have a lot of control. You'll have both devices on the dog at the same time, both the flat collar and the choke chain. But you'll be switching over to the flat collar, okay, as the days go by, as change takes hold, because the dog is going to be going more and more into a follower state. And so again, the choke chain becomes a means to an end. Okay, it's just a temporary transitional device, but it's the best device to use as it relates to what's being advocated. Because again, if you go to that pinch collar, then you're not advocating properly, and sure, you'll get the dog to respond, okay, better when that device is on. But it's not just about response, okay. Again, I talk about that a lot. It's about where the relationship is heading, okay, making sure that things are going to move forward in such a way that you can get rid of these devices. You go to off leash, you're going to have you talk about commands and being able to go off leash with the dog, but really have that level with your dog where the dog is going to truly respond, and you're not using devices as a type of crutch. So again, I encourage you to really think about the context of devices. A lot of people will become so device dependent. You see a lot of these balanced dog trainers, they cannot get their head away from it. They cannot think about anything different, because that's their starting point. Okay, they're advocating training as a learning-based exercise, which again, that in itself creates tremendous problems based on a dog's ability to hold control through its application. Then they start to get these devices and pivot off these devices heavily, and that's the problem. And then they're just like, it's like a drive-through mentality. It's like, here's your device, you just leave it on the dog if you feel, and they go through it and they just move on. So they're not looking at the process properly. So I would encourage, if you're really looking to create meaningful change with your dog, you want to make sure that, number one, the process is correct, that you're advocating the process at a interaction-based level, not a learning-based level. And then the devices themselves need to align so that they're intersecting the process properly, so that influence itself is happening in a way that is going to make sense to the dog. Okay, it's all about making sense to the dog. Dog comes into agreement with. Okay, that's the word to key up on. So the motivator, you're not looking to motivate the dog to respond like that. The motivator is the dog making sense of the process. The dog comes into agreement with it. That's where true change happens. Okay, that's where the process really starts to move forward in a positive way. So again, I encourage you, check out my website. Lots of great information. You're not going to hear any other trainer on social media talking the way I'm talking about the process, about devices, the ways to interact with your dog, but just making sense of it. So you can take everything I say and apply it to the human example I use very often, between a selfish child and a parent, and everything makes complete sense. Even why learning breaks down for so many people, it makes complete sense. And that's exactly what's happening in the dog training world. So again, check out my YouTube channel. Lots of great videos. If you have any questions, contact me. I'd be more than happy to help you out. So thanks for watching.